Friends, in our today's discussion, I believe it's going to be an interesting one. It's a discussion that speaks to most of our friends back home, but it also applies to those who are already here. Why is it that we all move abroad saying, I'm just going to stay there for 1 year or for 2 years or maybe for 3 years and then make my money, build a fortune, probably build a nice house back home and then come back? Or you must have heard of someone from your village or someone from your neighborhood who moved abroad, who went to America, who went to Europe, and the story is told that they never showed up again. Some of their family members died, their parents died, their siblings died, some even lost their own children, but they never showed up. In the best case scenario, they probably made a video call, and as it's reported, you will just hear that we heard of his voice. He probably has lost touch with his mother tongue. And most people will just say that he spoke to us in English. We barely heard what he said. Anyway, we are going to get right into that discussion and my observations why I think we are not going to blame them, but I'm going to go into the reasons why I think they are not able to move back. But just before we get right into that, I always told you that I'm very personal in this channel. So I always go through every comment that you make in the comment section. And as usual, I take one piece. And this week, just one stood out for me. I think I might have forgotten the name of the subscriber, but then he said, Pascal, why can't you create a Q&A so that you can answer some of the questions from your experience, and most importantly for us young people who are in Kenya, who want to go abroad, who want to go to Germany, who wants to benefit from the scholarships and opportunities offered by the government or by the agencies, or who just generally just want to get some idea about abroad and the realities, and whether it's a good time and the right age for me to move abroad. Now, I took that very seriously. I actually remember sharing it with my wife, who is also my videographer, is just right on the other side of the camera. And it was like, babe, I think that's a good idea. So I have a good news for you. Let's do probably an online poll on my social media pages or on the comment section. If you feel this is going to be absolutely a good idea to do some Q&A with me live, then let me know what day and time it works for you. And I will create that time to answer all your questions. And as always, this is not the first time Pascal is coming to the US. I was here in 2016 as an exchange student, and I have been here for 3.5 years. So yet I don't know everything, but I think I have some information that can help you to make a life-changing decision just before you move. Now, let's go back to our discussion today. I think it was just 1 month before we moved to the US. And I was having lunch with my father-in-law, and he had fears of us moving. So I wanted to understand, Dad, why are you so reluctant? Why are you you're not too sure about our moving to the US? And he told me a story that, look, there's a young man from our village, from our community, who went to America over 28 years ago, moved as a young boy just right after Form 4, went to the US and stayed there, and her mom died and never showed up until today. And he went on, and he told me that, look, I don't want to lose you because you are already on the right trajectory. God is blessing you. You already have a child. By that time, we only had Nana. And I will find time to introduce my family anyway. And you already have an amazing job. And I believe you don't really have to travel. So I went and shared that story with my wife. And we still had to disagree with him, and we eventually moved anyway. But then when we moved, I started hearing of so many other stories, and I started interacting personally with people who say, I came to the US 10 years ago and I've never been home. I meet people who say, I've been here for 12 years. I meet people who say, I've been here for 15 years ago. And I even meet old people who say, I'm never going back to Kenya. I lost my mother, I lost my father. There are even people, guess what? People who left their wives, remarried here in the US, and are not planning to go back home. Now, I have had time, because the right way to learn is to listen to these people firsthand. So I had time to have conversations with some of these people, and some we do on phone, and some are through interactions or through groups or through just African groups. And I mean, this topic today just applies to everyone from any continent, whether you are in Africa or Asia, anyone who is moving into a new country, especially the Western world. Now, a few things came out, but one thing that really struck me on the reason why they really have the intent, they have the intention to come back home, but they really never get that opportunity to come, is because of the system in the US, the credit system. I know most of us, coming from Kenya myself, if you can't afford a car, you don't have to get it. If you can't afford a house, you don't have to mortgage it. In fact, you don't even think about mortgage, because many of us don't even know what mortgage is. Okay, you know the theoretical meaning of definition of mortgage, but you really don't even know how it works. Now, there's something called American Dream. I know you've heard about it. In simple terms, American Dream is for you to go to school, get a wife or get a husband, and then buy a house through mortgage, and then have children and have a dog. That is simply the American dream. But now, this dream is tied to your credit score. What in Kenya we call as CRB, credit record something. Credit record? Credit something. I've forgotten the actual definition of CRB. But that credit rating in the US, as a way of absorbing you into this system. And just before you realize, all your money from your salary, from your paycheck, is all gone. Now, how does this work? I want to give you a very simple scenario. You come to the US. At the first 2-3 months are very hard, because you are trying to find your footing, trying to get a car, trying to know how to get a job, trying to know how to get around things, trying to understand the laws and all that. And then very quickly, God sees you through, and you've gotten your footing. And fortunately, you get a job. When you get a job, everyone with goodies come knocking onto your door. Well, ideally, they don't come knocking onto your door, but the good things start popping up and appearing your way, and they're just asking for your great credit score only. And because you are new that time, of course, you've not had a bad credit history in the US. I mean, you just moved in. So probably your credit score is shooting high. Now, someone tells you, please get a car on a loan, because that is what everyone, at least most people, do in the US. No one walks to the car bazaar and then buys a car for $32,000 or $40,000 by paying cash. I mean, where do you get all that money? So most people, you will walk into a car bazaar, they check your credit score, and if it's good, you walk away with that car, and they bill you every month. They take it off your account or off your card, probably $300 or $400 or $600. Again, depends with the state, and it depends with which car you are driving. That's number one. So already from your salary, because just before you started having bills, you had a complete salary. You are only thinking about rent, and you're thinking about food, and thinking about sending money home. But now, here's the twist. The first car bill, which we call as the car note, has come in. So they are going to take $400 off every month. And for how many years? Sometimes even 6, 7, 8, 9 years, depending on the mileage of the car. Now, the second bill, you left Kenya with an Infinix or a Techno. I am not against those brands. I used them myself. But then you come here in the US and you see the latest iPhone for just $30 or for just $20 every month. That's another bill. So you walk in, they see your credit score is great, they give you a phone, they're going to bill you 20 or 30 or 40 or $50 for 3 years. That's a bill on its own. And the list continues. You see a MacBook, you see what? And then to summarize it, if you have a family, you say, I don't think I am going to continue staying in a rental apartment. Now, let me get a home for my family, which is ideally a good point. Now, most mortgages last between 20 to 30 years on average. Then you get into the mortgage system. How much do you pay? Could be anywhere between $1,700 to even $3,000, $4,000 a month. Now, I want you to do some little arithmetic. Just within the few items that I've mentioned. Please note, I have not mentioned electric. I have not mentioned servicing that phone that you bought, because we don't have like Bamba or airtime here where you pay like 20 bob, 30 bob. I mean, everything is billed every month. You've not paid for your health insurance. You've not paid for the car insurance. So yes, you can be earning a lot, but at the end of the day, ukifanya ile sabu yako, let's say you're even earning $7,000, and then you take taxes just before you begin spending, and then let's say you are left with 6,000, and then you start taking this out. At the end of the day, my friend, you can barely breathe. I have heard of stories of people who can no longer even afford to send money home, who can no longer even afford to live a decent life here. They have to depend on frozen foods and, I mean, cheap foods in quotes, or junk foods, just to live. So how is this point related to not going back home? The moment that credit system absorbs you and you're not able to afford to save money, let me ask you, friends, how are you going to go back home? VP, how are you going to go back home? You're not going to go back home. I don't know if you've ever heard of so many people who've lost their loved ones. I mean, their parents or their children or someone who is dear to them, their aunties, their uncles, and they never showed up. I know you know this. Why? Because they cannot afford them. I tell you, this is the honest truth. If you knock onto the door of anyone who is living here, especially for the middle class, because I'm not saying everyone does, but for the big majority of people who are living on paycheck to paycheck, if you ask them if they have $500 at any given time, they will tell you they don't have. And then comes the air ticket. Something happens home and you are needed next week. That's going to cost you probably $2,000, $3,000 to go and come back on air ticket alone. You can't afford it. And even for those who are watching who are here in the States, you know the WhatsApp, the famous WhatsApp groups. I mean, that if something happens to someone, people have to fundraise or crowdfund to get money to support someone just to go and bury their loved one at home. So, once someone gets into the system, typically what happens is that they are left with very little to save, and they cannot afford to save enough to be able to invest back home so that they have the strength and the courage to go back home. I hope that point is home. So in my observation and in the discussions that I've had with people, it's not that their goals changed. It's not that their intention changed. But from my observations and the discussions I've had with them, is that they came here with really good, solid plans. But they came and got into this credit system, and it's very hard to get by without depending or relying on this credit system, because you still need a car to go to work. You need health insurance for yourself. You need car insurance for yourself. You need all these things. You need a phone to communicate at least. So once you get into all these things and it takes from your salary, and you probably also have the black tax, you still have to support your family back home, you are left with very small amount of money to send back home. So that's point number one. But point number two has something to do with expectation. Reason why someone says, I want to move, I want to go back home to my motherland. But this is my observation. When you moved here, and this takes different dimensions. It takes the family dimension, it's almost like a dichotomous. So it takes the family dimension, it takes the friends, it takes the community, it takes the society, it takes you as an individual as well at a personal level. So you want to move and go back. But remember, when you are coming, you came loudly. I mean, you wanted to tell them, hey, I am out of this country. I am moving. I am going to the US. I am going to Europe. I'm going to whichever country you're going to. So this already, just by publishing it online, raised people's expectations. That just by stepping out, just by boarding that plane, you're already successful. I know you are with me on that. So what happens? You come here, and then the people that you left at home. So let's start with the parents' dimension. They believe that their lives changes overnight. They will begin to do more shoppings. They will have a decent a house or home if they did. They will. Your siblings or your family will go to better schools, and the family names is going to be elevated. So even people at home in your community and your neighbors from your parents or your family or your guardians, you know how they call them? Because I'm a Luo, they call them Jogini Loka. What that means is that their people are abroad. So just by the fact that you're abroad, for them is like it's already success in itself. So this kind of pressure, you end up now not working to achieve the dream for why you came. Because let's go back to the very foundation. Why did you come? You came to make money, to build a fortune, or to probably save up, go back home, build a house, just to house your family and have some money to do that dream business that you've been having. At least that's the general idea for most people. But then you end up in this circle whereby now you have to uplift your family, uplift your parents, uplift your children and take them to better schools just to send a message that I succeeded. Now, if that fails to happen, because one way or the other, yes, you can, but at what cost? You also have a life. If you moved with your family, you have children here, you have to pay for health insurance, you have to pay all those bills that we've said. So sometimes you may not live up to this expectation. But then let's go to the second category within that expectation. What about your friends? Let me take this water. This is the reality now for me. When you moved, you kind of challenged them. That's the truth. You challenged them. Pascal went abroad and he was our friend. Now I have to do whatever it takes to succeed in this country. And yes, they are going to succeed because the only chance and opportunity they have is their country. At least for you, you have abroad where they believe in quotes, there are opportunities. Now they are going to get into that business. They are going to get into that agribusiness. They are going to get into politics. They are going to do anything. I mean, you have friends. They're going to do anything to compete with you. And that is just the nature of life. Then what happens? They have peace at home. They have family support. They are in their homeland where they don't have to follow with papers and follow with so many things and regulations. They end up succeeding ahead of you. How do you know this? You will know this through their social media. You will know this from your own parents telling you that, by the way, so and so has built. By the way, so and so is nowadays running a successful business. And your friends, if you are talking, they will show you on video. If you're not talking on video, you will just see them on social media. And then you are planning to go back home. Let me ask you, let's be human. Are you going to go back? Tell me, who is watching? Are you going to go back home? Even if you had plans to go, you are not going to go back home, my friend. Because why? You feel like you have failed. You're a failure. Because why did I even move to the US? Why did I even go abroad? Why did I go to Europe? Like, I've lost time. I've missed opportunities. And the people who are left struggling in Kariobangi, in Kayole, in anywhere in Kenya or in Africa, they are successful. Now, that's when you wake up and start saying, oh, I'm now going to have a plan. I'm going to start working from next year. Next year is my year. I want to start saving and go back. But you see, you are still struggling with all these bills. Now, this may end up going years and years and years. And then shame comes in. And then you say, I just give up. Awaze wameenda. I can't even compete them anymore. And I'm not going back home, because if I go back home, how am I going to start? Most of my friends own homes, either in the village or in the city. They have successful businesses. Their children they already have children, or they are in school, or they are, all this manner of comparisons from a human perspective. And then you end up not going. But then there's also another observation on the reason why people fail to go back home. And this is called identity. Now, you've been here for so many years. Right here, you do not belong. Back home, you do not belong. And this is like simply my explanation why I don't think you belong. When you left Kenya, your family or your friends or just your circle had expectations. You came here and started struggling to fulfill the expectations. But at some point, you gave up because you couldn't just do it. It wasn't viable. And then they cut you off. Or in some scenarios, life just happened. I mean, you couldn't manage to talk to them on a daily basis. They got new friends, they got new family members, and life just happened. And then before you realize, and with the back to back and the cycle in the US where people do doubles, and by doubles, people work here 16 hours. Can you imagine 16 hours? And people do all manner of things just to live. So, with that kind of pace, you rarely find time to catch up with your friends back home or with your family members. Now, eventually, they decide to move on because, it's just human. So, when they move on, you lose touch. 1 year passes by, second year, third year, before you realize they don't even remember you. Yes, they know you exist, but you're not part of their story. But right here also in the States, they don't know you, because how they see an immigrant is like someone who just came in for an opportunity, which is true. So you cannot build a substantial relationship here. And that's just the truth in my observation. So you don't have a substantial relationship here. You don't have a substantial relationship at home. So what happens? You say, I would rather be here in the US instead of go back home to start afresh. So friends, this is not to discourage you from coming to the US or moving abroad. Because just as I have said in the previous videos, there are some people who really need to come. And I have mentioned some of the categories in our previous videos. If you are a young man, you have nothing to lose, or a young lady, you just graduated from campus or from college, you still haven't found your bearing, still haven't found some good business to do or an opportunity, or you still don't just know what you can do. Or you're just a young person, is not married, you're still young. So it means you still have the leeway to do mistakes or to get it right. Then I don't have a problem with you coming just to see if it's going to work out for you. Or if it fails, then you still have some years to correct it and get it right back home. But imagine if you are above 40 or above 50 and then you come and lose 10, 28 years. Do you think you can get them back? So that's how I want you to think about the conversations we have. Because I told you, the purpose why I created this channel is that I want provide as much useful information to you so that when you're at a point of making decisions, then you can always refer to our videos and go back and listen to me and see, is this the best decision that I'm making? Am I within the right age bracket? Am I having the emotional strength to go and make it abroad? Am I going to manage the expectations? Am I in a good state of mind? So, I mean, all these questions, I want us to be a resource that is going to be able to help you. And that is why finally, as I finalize, I am open to Q&A. Let us know on the comment section on whichever day you people, my viewers and my friends and my family, you feel is the perfect day and the perfect time. So you can just go into the comment section and say, hi, Pascal, I am interested in the Q&A. For me, I propose this day and at this time. And then eventually we're going to look at this with my manager, with my boss, with my wife, and then we'll see when is the right time. And we'll let you know on our social media pages and in our postings so that you can get prepared with your questions. And I will try as much as possible to provide an advisory. And if you are a young person who is trying to move, we'll have a word with you. We can advise you on which kind of visa that may be able to help you. And if you are someone who is already here and is planning to move back home, then we may be able to have a conversations on the plan of you going back home. How are you going to be able to land? Are you planning something or don't you have any plan? What are some of the ideas that we may be able to share? And as is been described on our YouTube channel, for us, we are very much in touch with our country. So we still do our projects back home. We are still very in touch with our friends, with our families. So that means that we understand both geographies. We understand both worlds, what's happening at home and what's happening. And probably we may be at a vantage point to be able to understand you and probably be able to advise you if you're planning to make investments or you are just planning. I know this is a big one and we will probably just create a time for it. There's this category of people who really wants to go back home, but they can't go just because of a housing. Like they don't know. I moved here, I never bought land, or I've never built a home in my village, or probably in the city where I'm going to stay, and I can't move from my home here and move into an apartment in Nairobi. Now, those are some of the questions that we can discuss either privately by you emailing me. And we are not charging anything. We're just trying to build a community here. Again, we are not charging anything. We're just trying to build a community here. And ours is just to advise. We can't claim that we know everything. We're just trying to advise you based on our experiences and the projects that we've done and the little that God has been able to impact us with. So friends, thank you so much for staying with us. And I want to ask you to continue subscribing. Please share our channel. Please make those comments. And even if you differ, please don't be scared to comment. We still appreciate that because that's how we are going to be able to build this community, by challenging one another. And we ask for your support. We ask for your prayers. We ask that may you subscribe and share and comment. So until next time, which I think might be tomorrow or Tuesday, the Kenyan time. See you and God bless you.